Ever build yourself a wooden slot car track? Well, that's what we're going to do now. Well, it's been about 12 years since the last wood track that I built, so I'm trying to remember everything that I need to get this done. But I thought I would take you along on my journey here. Well, everything is jammed in the garage overnight, so let me pull it out into the driveway and you can see what's going on. Essentially, this is like 1960s technology where we have a thin piece of MDF and we cut slots in the wood with a router bit, and that guides the car going around, and we put metal braiding down to provide electricity into the cars. But this is old school. There used to be commercial tracks in all sorts of different places in town, but with the advent of video games and other things, it really is no longer a thing. You just no longer have a lot of commercial racing tracks, and I suppose RC cars had a lot to do with it. But anyway, I really enjoy this hobby, and let me show you what's going on. So here you can see the two panels. They're laid out in the drive on the framing, and we added a small piece here to accommodate one of the curves. These two panels are each 8 foot long, but the track will be about 15 feet 8 inches, so there's a few inches that are going to be cut off. And I'll walk around and you can see what's going to happen. So I'll walk you down, you'll see the back straight, and then we'll come around a curve on the far end, and then my friend Dave suggested a nice sweeping curve coming through the front area here, and then we've got S-turns coming through on the end. And this will be for 1/24th scale and 1/32nd scale, 3 lanes, 4 1/4 inches of spacing between the lanes, and then 5 inches to the outside wall. So let's take a look quickly at the jig. So this is just a simple piece of plywood, and I've got a pivot point marked here. You can see the red in the red there. So when I do the layout on paper, I mark where all the little pivots for the turn should be, so then it's very easy to transfer those curves up to the full-size sheet. So here's our pivot point. This is the inside lane. There's a hole here for drawing the inside lane, the middle lane, and the outer lane, because this is a 3-lane track, and then our outside wall. And we will mount this with a pin in this hole, and then the router will get mounted on this end of the jig. And the first thing we're going to do is, with a 1/4 inch router bit, we're going to trim off all this excess on the curve. And there you can see, after all the perimeters are cut, what the outside shape of the track is going to be. Let me pull the camera off the tripod and we'll walk around. All right, this is the front. This is where the driver's station will be. And this front section will be a gentle curve. Then we come in here to the beginning of the S's. Swoop around into the far turn, coming around here into the long back stretch, slow down for this final turn on this end, and then we sweep around here. We come into this gentle arc across the front, which forever will be called Dave's curve, down along the front, because it was Dave's idea for this. Great idea. and this will be checker flag. Before we get to the next phase, let's take a quick look at the bench work. There's nothing remarkable about it. Almost anything would work holding up the table where it's going to be permanently located because it won't be moved around or torn apart. It'll be set up and that'll be it. However, sometimes you make a design that helps you in the construction process, not necessarily in the final use of whatever you're building, and that's the case here. I needed to split this support section into 4 pieces to simply help me move things in and out of the garage and in and out of the house. There it is, all bolted together, except for this little extension here. It's clamped right now. I haven't decided on the final position of that. Well, I don't have my friend Dave to help me with the project this morning, so I had to substitute a small folding table for my friend. So I'm going to use that to help me transfer the sheets and get everything slid around on the frame. Okay, they're roughly in place. I'm trying to keep everything horizontal as much as I can. I don't want to set the panels on their edge and take a chance on dinging up that edge because it's going to be the surface on which my jig rides and controls how smoothly the lanes turn out. So I'm trying to protect that edge at all costs. Well, the next thing I have to do is I have to be able to join these 2 pieces together and have them registered and always go together with the same height and with the same relationship to each other. So I've got to make a little tongue and groove section that I can glue on there, and then once I get that done, then I can go around the edge of the track and get the perimeter absolutely smooth and perfect. I need 2 8-inch strips of MDF, about 44 inches in length. So the first thing I'm going to do is true up the edge, and then I'll cut our 2 strips. By the way, what we're doing here is a waist cut. Normally you don't measure from here to here on a track saw like this because you have to subtract the thickness of the blade. But I made a special jig that allows me to use this just like a rip fence on a table saw. And I did a video on how you can easily make one of these for your track saw. It allows you to be very precise on the waist or the cutoff cut. So I ripped one of the long boards right down the middle in half, and the other one I cut up into 6-inch blocks, 6 inches by about 5.5, just 45 down the corners. And how this works is this tab is going to get glued to this bottom board. This tab is going to get glued to that board, and so on. And then this half will get glued on this sheet. This half will get glued onto that sheet, and there'll be a sandwich. And when those pieces come together, the track panels can't vary vertically, and they can't vary horizontally. It'll lock everything into place. And normally we want to be able to bolt that together, to take it apart, put it back together. But for me, as soon as I put it in place, I'm going to screw everything together on the bottom rather than bolting it. So let me get busy on that. So you can see I've got these alternately glued down and screwed into place alternately. Half of the tabs will be mounted on this piece and the other half will be mounted on this piece, and then this whole assembly will get glued together where the two large sheets of MDF join up. I'm also using a little piece of paper, just a little note paper, in between these tabs just to give me a little skosh of room in between. Well, I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm going to finish gluing these tabs together, and then I'll mount this assembly to these two panels so they'll fit together perfectly. Hopefully next time we'll be able to start routing the lanes. That'll be really exciting. This is Stan saying thank you so much for joining me here on the Lakeside Raceway.